Today we're going to be learning how to graph quadratic in vertex form. Our goal is that we'll be able to graph a quadratic in the vertex from the vertex form, and that we will be able to write the equation in vertex form given its graph. So the vertex form for a quadratic is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. HK, that coordinate is the vertex, and A helps determine the outputs. The axis of symmetry is the vertical line x equals h. It'll always be x equals, and it will always be whatever number h is. That divides the parabola in half, and a parabola is just the formal name for the shape of a quadratic, the U shape that it makes. So the first thing we need to do, given our equation, is we're going to figure out what A, H, and K are. A is our number out front, so that would be -1. K is the opposite of the number in the parentheses, so 1. And K is the number on the end, which is 4. Our XY chart is going to be basically the same every time, at least to start out. So we're going to use the X values of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Since we're dealing with quadratics and everything's going to get squared, I'm going to square all these numbers. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, and 4 squared is 16. We'll come back to this in a little bit. So my vertex is at the coordinate HK, so 1, 4. My axis of symmetry always starts with x equals, and it equals whatever h is, so 1. So I'm going to plot those. 1, 4. And then for the axis of symmetry, it's a vertical line, and I'm just going to draw a dotted line, or dashed line, down the center, like that. So now I'm going to use these numbers and my a value. We're going to multiply a times y. So that would make this -1, -4, -9, and -16. And then I'm going to plot these from my vertex. So 1, -1, go back to the vertex, 2, -4, back to the vertex, 3, -9, and then 4, -16 won't fit. Now the axis of symmetry is really helpful here. Because we know it's symmetrical on both sides, I'm just going to take these points and reflect them on the other side of the line. So if this dot is 2 away from the axis, I'm going to go 2 away on the other side. 3 away from the axis, go 3 away on the other side. And then I'm going to make my parabola. Curves around like that, and then we put arrows on both ends. Since we could plug in anything for x, we can square any number. Our domain is -infinity to infinity. We also know that because we have arrows on both sides. Our range, at the bottom we have arrows pointing down, so it's -infinity, and then the top is at a y value of 4. My x-intercepts are -1, 0, and 3, 0. My y-intercept is at 0, 3. Increasing intervals, it starts increasing here, it stops here, so from -infinity till 1. Decreasing from 1 until infinity, it's going down. And then my end behavior, both arrows are pointing down, so both ends are going to negative infinity. All right, so in this one, a would equal 1/2, h would equal -3, k would equal -4. So again, for the x and y, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. The vertex would be at hk, so -3, -4. So I'm going to plot that, -3, -4. Axis of symmetry is x equals -3. So I'm going to draw that as a dashed line. Okay, since a is 1/2, I'm going to multiply that with all the y values. So then I would get 0.5, 2, 4.5, and 8. So I'm going to go to my vertex. I'm going to go over 1 and up 1/2. I'm going to go over 2, up 2, over 3, up 4.5, and over 4, up 8. And then I'm going to reflect them on the other side of my axis of symmetry. I'm going to connect the dots to make my parabola. Domain would be -infinity to infinity because we have arrows on both sides. Range would go down to -4 and then up until infinity. My y-intercept is at 0, 0.5. Now you may notice that this one doesn't ask for the x-intercepts. If you look, it's kind of hard to tell where it is because the point's like right above it. It doesn't cross at a nice whole number integer point, so sometimes it's just not going to ask you for it. Increasing interval, it's increasing on this side of the graph. So from -3 to infinity. And then -infinity to -3. It is decreasing. And then since both the arrows are pointing up, they're both going towards positive infinity. All right, so now on to writing the equation given the graph. We're going to need to figure out what a is, what h is, and what k is. So first I need to find my vertex. That's at the point 1, 2, 3, 4, -2. So 4 is my h, and -2 is my k. To find a, I'm always going to go over one box and see where that dot is. That's about halfway up, so a would have to be 1/2. Now I plug in to write my equation. Y equals 1/2 times x minus 4, because remember, h is always the opposite in its equation. Don't forget your squared, and then minus 2. And that's it. So let's try another one. My vertex this time is at -1, positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I go over one box, that dot's down 1, so -1. So y equals -x plus 1 squared plus 6. That's all for today. Fill in your summary, and I'll see you in class.